as I stood over there tonight, and two wonderful songs, man. That first one just, man, you just kind of get your groove on. And then that second one that's talking about an all-powerful, almighty God. And I've read, of course, I wasn't there, but I've read and I've seen movies and I've seen documentaries when Elvis Presley first became real popular. And I've seen videos and pictures where girls, grown women and men would climb a fence trying to get to him and where he was at. For some dude just swaying his hips a little bit. And as I stood there and I thought, man, it's all fine, you know, Brother Jeff, if there's going to be people in our life who we think is really popular and who has arrived at certain places, and it's going to be really cool to stand there with them and be like, you know, I was in the same room with them. That was, either they was a jerk or they was nice, or I want to be around them. You know, there is no in between, really. But at the same time, to know that where we stand today, that we serve an all-powerful, almighty God that is so real and moving and is in this place right now, in this house. You don't have to preach him into here. You don't have to clap him into here. He just comes in here because you don't have to cheerlead him into here. You don't have to hallelujah and can I get a witness and all that stuff. But the moment that you realize that you have that relationship and you're connected to the vine, then you know that wherever he said that surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life. So at that moment, and you're trying to realize, well, my kids are crazy and I just can't get through this season and I don't know what I'm going to do and my business has gone haywire and I got to where I can't hardly see them. My glasses need to be more powerful, and irregardless of what it may be, I'm here to let you know tonight that it don't really matter what I say or what I think, but that Jesus Christ is still Jesus Christ, and he's still sitting on the throne. But at the same time, he's got one foot in Coney Hatter. He's got a foot in Rolling Wood. He's got one in Forest. And that don't mean he's got 3 feet either. You know what I'm saying? But he's just that bad to be wherever you need him to be. And he's there. So I want just for a few minutes tonight, and I know when preachers say that, it's kind of like, in closing, 13 altar calls, in closing, you know, and it's one of those moments in life that we have to understand exactly why we're here on this earth. And I believe that we're actually, and I know sometimes it's hard for us to get, but we're actually living in a powerful time. Now is the time that you want to be living. Now is the time whether you is or you ain't. Now is the time either you is a Christian or you ain't one. Because everybody is going to know the difference. It don't matter who they are. They want to know what you got to say, and they want to hear what you got to say sometimes. But I want to just for a few moments, I've been thinking about this. I hadn't been thinking about it very long because Pastor just texted me yesterday. But anyway, that is, to me, there's out of all the people in the Bible, and everybody here, does anybody here have, Pastor's been preaching about superheroes and different things, and everybody that wants to be a hero and what it takes to be one, and that, it's not, you can just, I know we want to say that we're a born superhero, so to speak, but a lot of times we have to be reborn, just like being saved. You thought you was all that at first, and now you're reborn. You've been born again. God's doing all these crazy things for you. But I picked one tonight that's really not, to me, he's a cool guy. He got a cool story anyway. He may not be Paul. He may not be Peter. May not be Jesus. But there was a guy in John chapter 11 by the name of Lazarus. Anybody ever in Sunday school or anywhere ever talked about Lazarus, and matter of fact, I started to call Adriana earlier and just tell her to find the song. When I was growing up, in the 80s, Carmen had a song, but the name of the song was Lazarus. And in that story, it talks about, of course, and if we know the story, and if you, just a little backstory, just in case somebody that is here may not have ever heard, maybe your first time, I don't know. But the cat passed away, you know what I'm saying? He died. D-E-A-D. Got sick and he died. And the crazy thing is, when you think your life is over, Jesus didn't even come to the dude's funeral. You ever thought about that? No. We get upset because so-and-so didn't show up at the shower. We get upset because, so-and-so didn't send flowers. And I really thought they thought more of me than that. I thought that they would really. No, Jesus didn't even show up to a dude's funeral. His friend's funeral. Yeah. Now that's Jesus, not me. That's him. But the backstory is, and in this song that was sang many years ago, it just talks about who he met. He found himself in heaven. And he met Moses, and he met all of those ones. He met Ezekiel, and the wheel within a wheel and all of that. And toward the end of the song, while he's having a big discussion in heaven, he says, hey, wait a minute. I think I hear somebody calling my name. And in that psalm, they said, what you mean calling you? I think he'd been telling them about who Jesus was. And so I think I hear him calling my name now because, and in that song, Jesus did what? When Jesus said, Lazarus, come forth. And he came forth. But I want us to imagine for a moment that you're in a courtroom, a nearly empty courtroom, and present are four people. A judge, a lawyer. That judge and lawyer is two good people to have. Where? In the courtroom. And an orphan and a would-be guardian. The judge is God. Jesus is the one who seeks to be the guardian, and you are the orphan. You have no name, no inheritance, no home. The lawyer is proposing that you be placed into Christ's care. Who is the lawyer? A Galilean fisherman by the name of John. 6 testimonies have been given. 6 miracles have been verified. John gestures toward the table where sits the articles of evidence, the jugs of water that Jesus had turned into wine, the signed affidavit of the doctor who treated the sick son Jesus had just healed, the basket of the boy with the lunch Jesus had used to feed over 5,000 people, a broken oar to show the strength of a storm at sea, a cup and cane that was left by a blind man who did not need either one to beg anymore. And now, John says, turning to the judge, we have one final witness to call and one piece of evidence to submit. John goes to his table and returns with a white linen sheet. This is a burial shroud. He explains, placing the clothing on the table, he requests, Your Honor permitting, I call our final witness to the chair, Lazarus of Bethany. Heavy courtroom doors open and a tall man enters. He strides down the aisle and pauses before Jesus long enough to place a hand on his shoulder and to say, thank you. And Lazarus turns and takes his seat in the witness chair. State your name for the court, Lazarus. Have you heard of a man called Jesus of Nazareth? Who hadn't? How do you know him? He is my friend. We, my sisters and I, have a house in Bethany. And when he comes to Jerusalem, he often stays with us, my sisters, Mary and Martha and myself. And we have become believers in him as well. Believers. Believers that he is the Messiah, the Son of God. Why do you believe that? And of course, Lazarus smiles and says, let me tell you my story. Each and every one of us are going to find ourselves at that moment in time. We're going to find ourselves at a place where we feel like, and you hope that Jesus is he's wanting to be our guardian. He's wanting to be the one who you wake up in his house every day. where he feeds you, he clothes you, he gives you what you want to drink. You know, hey, whether it's sun-kissed or whatever it may be, he wants to be the one to provide for us. And if we're not careful in a day in which we live now, in a world that we live in, we're going to forget really who our guardian really is and who that relationship really is. Here's the thing. You're going to have a relationship with something. Whatever it is, with whomever it is. It don't even have to be a person. It can be something, but you're going to have a relationship. And so I've just kind of got just like, this is very, very informal, and the way it comes out, let it come out. But just like when I was teaching here a while back on Matthew, at any time you want to interact. I mean, it's just good Bible study. But I want you tonight, put yourself in that courtroom scenario and imagine that someone approaches you and asks, how do you know Jesus? Think about it. It's not like you're sitting in your living room in the comfort of your home and somebody says, how do you know Jesus? Can you tell me about Jesus? But it's in a courtroom where that is already intimidating. Trust me, I've been there. And it's like, hey, everything is serious and everybody's looking at you and you're on the witness stand. And guess what? You know, you can't lie. You're not supposed to anyway. You put your hand, you swear this, you got to tell the truth. And it's intimidating. And somebody looks at you. Now, hey, you can't be like, well, I go to all seasons. I didn't ask you. The one thing in a courtroom you got to understand, you don't tell nothing that you're not asked. You let them ask the questions and you say yes or no. It's not like when my wife says, did you take that garbage out? Well, now look, baby, I was out there last time. There was 3 gorillas and 2 monkeys, and I didn't want to put the trash out, and the truck was in the way, and this was in the way. And no, it's yes or no, because I can tell you, if you give the yes or no answer, if it works in court, it works at home, really. If you just say, nope, I didn't. Pretty much everything's going to be resolved right then. Court's over. But if you try to do what? Defend yourself. Anybody will tell you at any place in court, don't defend yourself until it's time. It's up to somebody else to defend you. Oh, I wish that some of us could get that in today's world, and you wouldn't go after these trolls on Facebook all the time and feel like they will suck you in, man. Don't let them suck you in. Just leave it alone. But to know that the battle is not yours. It's not mine. I mean, Jesus is up 24/7. It's on him, man. That's not on me. It's his battle. But imagine you're sitting there and they're asking you, how do you know Jesus? What you gonna say? I mean, you got to have something to say. You can't just be like, well, I've heard about that dude. I mean, he lives over there behind so-and-so with the little, no. You need to be telling somebody, how do you know Jesus? And of course, you got Lazarus that you're asking that to, and he's like, I'm going to tell you how I know him. I know him way more than you think I know him. And you ask yourself, and think about if you're asked that question tonight, what would your answer be? What would it be? What story would you tell? And how would that story demonstrate your relationship with Christ? I know there are times when people come at us and we feel like they're attacking our church. We feel like they're attacking the ministry. And we feel like, boy, it's like, oh, I know you didn't talk about my pastor like that. Let's see, I'm going to be in jail. Because if you talk about him again, I'm going to hit you right inside your head, okay? Now, there's no doubt, Pastor I'm sure he appreciates, you going to bat for him sometime, but that's really not what you need to do at that moment. Your light's got to shine not in the direction that other one's shining, because they're doing what? They just sucking you in, man. He really ain't that. He really ain't no real pastor. I ain't real sure about that church anyway. So if your relationship is on the rocks, then all of a sudden now, just like that lawyer does, He's coming at you, man. He's asking you this question, and then he'll get a little silent, and he's going to blindside you with something else. I had an arson case years ago. Man, I thought I had everything together, had all my paperwork in front of me, had everything was time stamped. I was like, man, I'm going to do this. This is perfect. And this guy had been a lawyer for like 35 years, and he was legit. And I was nervous. I'm going to be honest. I mean, I felt good, but I was nervous. And that dude come right there, man. You know how they are. They walking around, but they walking around just like on TV, except they real. Oh, Chief Davidson. I ain't say nothing. I ain't say, sir, I was told and taught you don't say nothing. I just looked at him. Done like that. He said, now what time was this fire? And he looked at his watch. And when he said that, I glanced at my paper and I said, it was about, he said, I didn't ask you what it was about. And I was like, oh my gosh. This dude's gonna try to tear me apart. And then I remembered what I had in front of me. Everything was there. Everything had a time on it. Every picture. And I just looked at him and I said, according to my time, it was blah, blah, blah. This is the time. What time did you get on scene? According to the time from right here, yada, 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 this was the time. And he went at me about 15 minutes. After it was all said and done, I'll never forget, court was over. He caught me down the hall when I was leaving. He said, you didn't do too bad, man. I thought, man, I started to hit you right in your mouth. He just thought it was funny, you know. He's doing his job. But people are gonna come at you like that. Listen to me. Look, I'm not preaching at you. I'm preaching at me too. People are going to come at your faith. I mean, you just think that they're coming at you. They're about to really come at your faith, and they're gonna say, do you know the Lord? You tell me about him. I don't care what your pastor had to say. I want to know, what do you know about the Lord? What story have you got to tell? Not something you've read, but what is a personal story? But we all have a story to tell. And Lazarus' testimony, to me, was extraordinary because most stories will tell someone, but few will touch everyone. Think about that. And that's where we are today. And as you'll see in this couple of pages here, in this story, is a defining moment in Christ's early ministry, when you begin to look at also how that it's about conquering death, that there was a death, that he conquered death, so that me and you could sit where we sit tonight. He went to a cross so you could be healed. See, Jesus went to where and did everything that he did, so you ain't got to panic over COVID, so you ain't got to panic over cancer. Well, but you don't ever, that's what I'm about to tell you right now. Think about Lazarus. He's sick. He had one sandal in the grave and one sandal in the sand, so to speak. When you go back and you read it and you study it. So I can see him now as he begins to tell his story. He begins to say, well, you know, I've always been kind of sickly. I've always just had some heart problems. I've always just, I didn't really know what was up. And that's why I stayed with my sisters, so they could take care of me. They care for me. You know, my heart's never been the strongest. All of us, we're dealing with stuff. Everybody here, no matter how successful you think somebody is, no matter how smart you think somebody is, everybody here is dealing with something, and they're walking through something. I know it's spring in your season, but it might be winter in theirs. And sometimes I feel like all four of them's winter. But there is still different seasons, and God grows us in those seasons. We know that. This is nothing we've never heard before. He said, but you know, so I have to be careful what I do. I got Martha. She's the oldest sister. And she's like a mother to me. And it was Martha who called Jesus when my heart failed. And of course, John is saying, well, go on. You know, you've been there. Go on. I want to hear this. He said, well, I lingered for a few days, but I knew I was near the edge. The doctors would come in and just shake their heads and walk out. And we're at that place even now, you know. It's very aggressively speaking, and it's with whatever your condition is. Whether it's struggling at home, whether it's your children, whether it's your job, whether it's your relationship with the Lord. Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm not telling you that everything is going to be perfect, but if you can try to perfect that relationship with Jesus, then all the other, I'm telling you, it's going to begin to add up, though. It's going to begin to line up. But the problem is, once again, we try to fight our battles. Well, as long as I can move, I'm good. I don't need you right now, Jesus. I got this. I'm good. You know, it's kind of like if somebody's breaking in your house. You know, especially us men, it's like, hey, I tell you what, we got this. We got this. I'm not sure what we think we got, but we got it. And now all of a sudden it's more than one coming in and you really need some help, but it's like, no, I'm good. Hey, are any of y'all, there's probably nobody here in this building, but is there anybody here that you know anybody? I'm just asking for a friend that is maybe married to somebody that's like very independent. Anybody? Is anybody here? See, I didn't think it was anybody. No man is about to attempt to raise his head tonight. They like, no, I'm good. I see heads going down and stuff, but when you're at a place to where you need help, there's nothing wrong with asking for help. And Jesus is going to be there when you ask him. And he'll always be. And we love to sing that song, you know, boy, he's an on-time God. And, you know, he may not come when you want him to, but he'll be there. We know it. We shouted to it. We done worship. People done fell out with the same song. But it's easy to sing that song when there's nothing going on in your life. You know, you up here, he's an on-time God. And your neighbor over here, he ain't feeling it. Because your neighbor going through all kinds of stuff. He's like, I don't know what y'all talking about. I've been waiting 3 years. And you talking about he already on time. No, he's late. Well, how you think Lazarus felt? That was his friend. That was somebody. They didn't just begin to believe in him at this moment. They already believed in him. They already believed who he was and what he could do. And he's standing there and doing this thing. And, of course, in the middle of this is when they asked him, is that when Jesus came? He said, no. We kept hoping he would. Martha would sit by the bed at night, and she would whisper over and over and over, be strong, Lazarus, be strong. I want you to put yourself there tonight. With whatever situation. I heard Sister Beth, who tonight was very transparent about just being tired. And just being, as they would say, wore out. And everybody in this room, you don't have to be in the medical field to be tired. This world is making everybody tired. But I want to tell you, not in the greatest preaching voice, but in just my voice, that the joy of the Lord is still your strength. He's still going to be the one where you're going to get all of your needs met. I promise you. He's still that very person. But if you're tired tonight, I promise you, he's here to give you rest. He said it time and time again in his word that, you know, hey, he said, don't be weary in well doing. We all got things we want to do and how we want to do it, but don't let it get to the place to where you get so tired. I was just talking to a paramedic earlier that if you're working 3 and 4 days in a row, especially now, you tired. And I honestly really don't want you working on me because you half asleep. You don't know what's going on, but that's what we get sometimes. We get to that place to where we're just kind of going through we're going through the motions. And if we're not careful, we come to church like that. Well, we done through the week. Today's Sunday, and I got this thing. And all of us have our schedules. We like to go by that. I mean, I pretty much got mine lined out. It's pretty well. I know what I'm going to do on pretty much every day. But don't let him, I'm talking about the enemy, bury you. Let God give you some rest. Because a lot of times he's saying, here's what I want to do for you to rest. And you're like, no, I'm good. I got this. No, I'm saying rest. You need to rest. You ever seen somebody been sick for a while and you knew they wasn't well? Where you going? Oh, I got things I got to go do. You know, you really need to lay off a couple more days. Nah, we got to get this done. And then all of a sudden, bam, there they are. They laid out, stretched out. It's before the Lord, okay, but it's not like you need to be. Because all you needed was a little rest in your life. He said, what delayed him? He said, for the longest time, we didn't know. I thought that he might be in prison or something. I kept waiting and waiting. This is Jesus that you're waiting on. So you're here tonight and you've been praying for something. I'm sure you have. Hey, whatever it may be, but you've been waiting. And it's like, Lord, I've been in church all my life, and you said you was going to take care of me. You said that you would be there. They done sung about it. They have told us exactly what I need to do. I feel like I'm doing the right thing, and where you at? You promised me that you would never leave me nor forsake me. Well, I'm feeling like you can't leave me because you ain't got here yet. So now I'm really forsaken. So, where are you at? Imagine that you're watching, and this actually happened 2 or 3 times in the Word of God, that somebody is passing away right before your eyes, and you're waiting on help to come. Think about that. You're waiting, and you know it, but here's the crazy thing, because they knew that if Jesus shows up, what was going to happen? What was going to happen? He was going to heal him. Because they knew what he could do. He turned water into wine. He said, peace be still. And this big tall wave just went right down flat. Just like it needs to be. So they knew that it wasn't like it was going to be a guessing game when he got there. He was going to be like, I'm really not sure if I can do this or not, but I'm here though. No, he knew that if Jesus ever got to his house, that he would heal him. But he said, I didn't know. He said, my vision faded. I couldn't see. I drifted in and out. Every time someone entered my room, I thought it might be him, but it never was. He never came. And here's the question right here. Did you get angry? Oh, this could go on for 3 hours. How many of us, we know people, and even us maybe, because God didn't do something we thought that, you ain't got to be all super spiritual tonight. I know. Now, you said you was going to be here, God, but you didn't. I was in a 7-week revival. It got prophesied, I know, 10 times that you was coming. And I got it written down in the back of my Bible. It was on this date and this date and this date. Well, where you at? But if you ever realize that Jesus and God don't have time, there is no time with God. Do you really think there's a clock up in heaven that's got the time? Like the world clock? No. There is no time with God. And if he says, I'm coming, guess what he's doing? He's coming. Now, when I was growing up, if I did something ridiculous at home and my mom felt like that she could not chastise me or punish me in the way that I needed to be punished, my dad could live and work an hour away, but she would call him. And she would just enlighten him a little bit that, your son is not behaving the way he needs to be behaving. And you know what she'd walk in there and say? Your daddy's on the way. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, unless the rapture took place, I knew that he was coming. If they said he was coming, he was going to be there. And he was going to be there in short time. So if you don't think for a moment that I knew he was coming, how would I feel if I know that Christ is coming? Just like he said he was doing what to this earth? I'm coming back to get my children. I'm going to split those eastern skies. That trumpet's going to blow. The dead in Christ shall rise first. And those that which are alive and remain are going to be what? They're going to be caught up. I wonder sometimes, and I'm talking to me too, that the reason that we need to be more about heaven and more about hell, that we hadn't maybe got quite homesick enough and disgusted enough with a world that don't even belong to us. This has nothing to do with us. We're just passing through, doing our thing. And how long has Jesus, how long have you heard he's coming back? Anybody, just say it. For a while. Well, I can remember when I had come down to stay with my grandparents in Sebastopol, Mississippi. Back then it was a little small, Pine Grove was a little small Pentecostal church. And it was like in 1980, 1981. And there was a preacher there spitting and doing his thing. And he said, he's fixing to come back. And the next 2 or 3 years, now I was in the early 80s. And you know what? I believed it. He was coming back in 90. He was coming back in 95. Guess what? I'm not giving up. If you think I'm going to tell you he ain't coming, he's coming. Because he's going to come when we least expect it. I want him to come back now. But hey, I'm not sure exactly what he's waiting on. But I do know if he said I'm coming to get my children, then I'm coming. I'm going to be on my way. So we get angry sometimes. We get upset. We get frustrated, Brother Jeff. It's just like, this is not the way it's supposed to be. Now, they said when I lined up and I got right and I stopped going crazy things and got in church and started going to all seasons and doing my thing, man, life was going to be better. Man, life just seems to be worse. I'm not sure who told you that life was going to be a whole lot better, but that's not always the case because God's growing us every time. He said, no, I was more confused than angry because I just didn't understand. That's where we're at. And I'm just going to be honest with you. In the world that we live today, we try to understand it. And it's not for you to understand. It's not for me to understand. But what I do have to understand is that he is my provider. And he is the very one that's going to take care of me and do everything that I need. He'll even do some things and just surprise you every once in a while. He'll just come by and be like, hey, I got a phone call. Hey, man, that's awesome. You're not going to believe what happened today. There's going to be them times. And then there's going to be them times, you know what, man, I tell you what. Now I know he's the Lord. I know he died on the cross. I know he did. And he's done some great things in my life. But man, I tell you, I just, then I check that relationship and I know what he's done for me. And I'm saying, you know what, God? You're still an on-time God. I wanted you yesterday. It's the world number one that we live in now. We in that microwave society where we want everything a certain way. He said, well, I woke up one night, said my chest was so tight I could barely breathe. Said I must have sat up because Mary and Martha came to my bed. They took my hand. I heard them calling my name, but then I began to fall. It was like a dream. I was falling, spinning wildly in midair. Their voices grew fainter and fainter, and then nothing. This is Lazarus talking. He's still in the courtroom. He's still trying to explain and tell his story. The spinning stopped, the falling stopped, and the hurting stopped. I was at peace. So, John 1 and 1, I'm going to put up John 11, verse 1. This is where the story starts. Now a certain man was sick, Lazarus of Bethany, the town of Mary and Martha, sister Martha, and all of that. That's where it began to happen. And when you read that all the way through and you see in the story, what did Jesus say when he heard? I think it's in verse, let me get it right here so he don't have to go through all of that. Jesus answered, are there not 12 hours in the day? If any man walk in the day, he stumbleth not, because he seeketh the light of the world. But if a man walketh in the night, he stumbleth, because there is no light in him. These things said he, and after that he said unto them, our friend Lazarus sleepeth, but I'm going to do what? To wake him up. See, and we could go back to Jairus' daughter, where he had to tell everybody. He had to tell everybody that was mourning there to leave. Just get out. Yeah, just go. Y'all killing me, man. Y'all whining and carrying on. And I can't even work like this. Just leave. Just go on, because you know why? Because you're not going to understand what I'm about to do. You're not, and see, that's where we have got to get. You got to get away from the media. You got to get away from what you've heard. And you got to get in this book right here and realize that Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And everything will be fine. But he said, hey, you're not going to, if you stay here, you're going to be like, well, you know what? I don't really think she was dead. I don't even think she was sick. You know, I think somebody's making this up. This has got to be just some satire or something. It's not, it can't be real. I'm not real. And that's why from the very beginning, and that's why you hear me say a lot, then God will clean your friend closet out for you. See, all these people get on Facebook and they talking about, well, I'm cleaning out Facebook. I'm like, then that ain't no problem. You can delete that whole app and you be done with the whole kit and caboodle. Like you ain't gotta go by one. You can just do it all at one time. But is a time now where we're at. If you're not ready for what God's about to do, then you better hitch up. And you better get your relationship where it needs to be, because God's not going to do things for you if you're not even going to believe it. I don't think that'll happen. I don't believe it can happen. Yeah, it's happening, and it did happen. And that's what he said. I'm just going to wake him up. And then, of course, his disciples said, Lord, if he sleeps, hey, that would have been me. I'd have been like, no, Lord, if he's sleeping, why don't we come all this way? And I've been hearing rumors, I done seen it all over Facebook, that the dude's dead. Like, they done buried this guy. We done missed the funeral. But if he's just sleeping, let's let him sleep. And I got to throw this in without breaking a lot of HIPAA laws. It ain't got to matter where it was at. But I have had in the past a patient that she would just sleep very hard. And 911 got called like 3 times a week for like 2 months. And we get over there, and I'm like, y'all, she's just sleeping. No. I said, your chest is rising up and down. Everything, vitals are cool. No, y'all got to wake her up. I'm like, one day I'm going to come in here, and she going to see 4 or 5 firemen standing there trying and rubbing on her chest like this, making sure she's not dead, and she going to slap somebody right in the mouth. And one day, guess what she said? Please, can y'all just this is a true story. I'm not making this up. Can y'all please just let me sleep? And I'm like, I wish I could sleep like that. I'm like up at 2 o'clock in the morning, just looking for something to eat and looking for something to drink. And this lady like day and night, she just like. Now she may look dead to them, but she ain't dead. We cool, colors fine, everything. I promise you, man, it's all good, man. Stats is better than mine. It's like, let her sleep. And we have to go through all of this because family's saying, wake her up. So we got to wake her up. And then she look, how would you feel if I come into your house, Brother Ed, 1 o'clock in the morning, shaking you, rocking your head back and forth, saying, hey, wake up. And then you finally wake up like, what in the world is going on? But that's the thing about it is they felt the same way. They were just human, man. They not Jesus. If the dude's sleeping, let him sleep. So that's what he was saying. Then he says, look, when a time you've endured, think about it. Think about a time that you were at a vigil or something when somebody was sick or an injured loved one, and perhaps you felt kind of like Mary and Martha, that they felt. How would you approach God at this time? How would you? And there's some in this, I'm sure there's a way. And there's something that you would do. And you would feel like you said you was coming. Look, we get upset if somebody in our family, if the FedEx man don't show up on time. You done went stone crazy outside. You're like, he said he was coming. Look right here. It's on this phone. It says right here, package delivered. Where's the package at? Where is the package at? It says it's delivered. And look, I've got stuff from UPS, and I'll be like, April, she's like, oh, would you please look on the porch? There's a package to be delivered today. I'm like, well, that's a no-brainer. It's always a package. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, there is no package. Now, I'm telling you, I'm your husband. Now, unless an alien come by and got it, there is no package on this porch. It's gone. It's not there. And if I say, well, maybe they ain't dropped it off. Oh, it says right here. It says UPS, and UPS don't lie. FedEx does, UPS don't. It's there. No. We get all bent out of shape over UPS and FedEx. How would we do and how would we feel when we take it to a little more serious note to where somebody is sick or it's something more serious that, hey, I'm waiting on you, God. I'm waiting on you. I'm in my 7th or 8th day of fasting for this situation. There's people right now that you know, whether it be COVID related or anything else, that's in ICUs right now. I'm telling you where God's bringing us to. God's wanting to put us at a place where we got to learn to speak it. Not speak, should I, should I not, but speak in the name of Jesus. We finna empty out some ICU rooms. See, we ain't got there yet. We still trying to sing it out. We still trying to just preach it out. But no, if we ever get to the place and we know what's on the inside of us, and we know that that same power that said, Lazarus, come forth, is resting on the inside of me. If some of us, including me, would be reminded of that every day, instead of, I tell you what, I don't know why my children won't get saved. Or I don't know why my husband or wife don't want to come to church. That's not what they want to hear. You just speak it. Because if you speak negative, that's what's going up in the air. And we don't even have time to preach that tonight. That if when you speak junk, it goes up here and the devil gets that. But if you speak in positive things, and I believe that's why it's hard to hang around negative folks. Because it makes you feel what? Horrible. And that's why every once in a while, we all do it. There's times that I get a little, and my wife's like, no. And you're right. No need to be like that. But think about, what was your emotional state at this time when you got something going on? You got a loved one that's about to, I'm not talking about a package. And it may be something you paid a lot of money for that you trusted UPS with to get from wherever to your front steps. Were you afraid for the person's life? Were you angry at God for allowing your loved one? I'm going to tell you, it gets all deep in there. You know, they already were suffering, God. They already was in a bad way. I don't know why you just couldn't, put something out there. And, you knew they were already in this just twisted and wrecked up world. You could have made the gas run out of the car. So, no, we got free will. We can do what we want to do. That's just the way it is. Were you confused and not knowing what quite to do? We've all been there. Were you wrestling with regret over things you'd said or hadn't said to your loved one? Were you feeling sorry for yourself? And like I said, surely if I stop for a moment and begin to just poll each and every, a lot of us has been there. And it's a bad situation. And it's horrible. But that God, irregardless, just like, I believe it was when I was watching Tony Evans' wife's funeral here back last year, and healed one way or the other. God's going to take care of it. God's always right. I know sometimes we think, no, I ain't quite right. I wouldn't have done it like that, God. But last time I checked, Joel, you are not God. So let me handle this. And you have to understand, where you, the whole part, it's easy to feel sorry for, I thought I was going to get that job or I thought I was going to get that raise. And I'm just, no. So I want to close with this. The voice of Jesus. We listen to everything else, but just like Lazarus, when he passed, when he went, he left this world, y'all. Like for real, he died. They had a funeral. They wrapped him up, put him in there, rolled a stone up, just like was going to happen not many years later when Jesus, the same thing was going to happen. And I believe with all of my heart, this is one of the moments that Christ was showing the world. I'm going to show you what's about to happen. I'm going to conquer death, hell, and the grave. So in the middle of this courtroom, John pauses and letting the silence of the courtroom speak. The judge listens, the guardian listens, and you, the orphan, say nothing. And they said, at peace. John says, he said, like I was asleep, resting, tranquil, I was dead. Then what happened? Well, we all know what happened when that happens. We have a funeral. We do our thing, and that's what I said earlier, that did Jesus come to the funeral? He said, nope, still wasn't there. Dude's still on his way. It sounds almost in this situation, because we know how the ending is, right? It's almost kind of comical. But that's how Christ is doing us. You like, are you coming, Lord? Are you coming? I'll be there. I'll be there. You sure? Yeah, just check your text message. It says on the way. You check it. Man, too bad we can't check his location. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, he ain't far. He ain't far. Yeah, man, he's right there. He's right on this and such street. No, really, he's everywhere when you check your location. He's everywhere. He's at my house and your house. Don't be talking about how, now look, the devil can't be at my house and your house. Come on now. Now God can, but the devil can't. He may have a demon at your house or at my house, but the devil can't be at this place and that place. And if you think that, get with me after a while and we'll talk about it. That's not going to happen. But it seems to me that it's like, what? I can't believe it. They sitting outside. They doing their thing. They done got all the food lined up. Everybody coming through there eating and doing the buried the dude. And he said, nope. When he heard I was buried, what did he do? Anybody? When Jesus heard that he was buried, he waited 4 more days. I'm like, what is wrong with you, Jesus? Man, you slipping. Now he's been on the way for a long time. And I'm sure it's kind of the way that my wife has felt at different times when she's cooking supper in the past and she said, where you at? I'll be there in a minute. And it's like, I'm on my way. How long have you been on your way? Was you in like California or what's going on? It's like you feel it's like, well, they'll be here in a minute. Or kind of like when your grandparents was coming over and you was a kid and you were just pacing back and forth in the house. Back and forth. You just going and your mom was like, boy, sit down. They'll be here in a minute. And don't you jump all over them y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all know. And I'm like, I don't know who you talking to, woman, but I'm going to jump all over somebody. I'm waiting on my mama to get here. I'm waiting on my papa to get here. You won't buy me good food to eat, but they will buy me good food to eat. They will carry me to Chuck E. Cheese. You might not do that, but they will. But it's like, how, and now, can you imagine when it's all said and done? Somebody had to say, Jesus, they said he was sick a while back, and now we still, and I'm just letting you know, we just got a private message on Facebook that they've already had the funeral. Okay. I got other things to do. 4 more days. This is what he's telling him. He said, why? He said, to make his point. See, Jesus will always get the last word in your situation, just so you realize where your strength really comes from to make his point. He said, what happened next? Here's where we right back to the beginning and also at the end. I heard his voice. Now, I don't care who you are, where you from, but if you follow the Lord and you are one of his sheep, you will know his voice. Let me tell you something. The devil is not going to tell you to go to Walmart and lay hands on 3 people. Trust me. The devil is not going to tell you to come to an all-night prayer meeting. The devil is not going to tell you to start a Bible study. But if Jesus whispers in that still small voice, you will know that it's God. If you got this much of Jesus in you, you're going to know when he's talking to you, hey, that was God I heard. When you get a chance, go home and Google that song. You will enjoy it. I promise you that he heard that voice and said, you know what? This has been fun. Peter wasn't there yet, but Moses, Ezekiel, all of y'all, hey, it's a cool way. I love it. But I got to go. Where you going? I'm going back home because he's calling my name right now. And when he called his name and he said, Lazarus, come forth. Of course, they said, whose voice? The voice of Jesus. But I thought you was dead. I was. But I thought you was in a grave. I was. How does a dead man in a grave hear the voice of a man? He doesn't. The dead hear only the voice of God. And you will know. I believe that where we're living now, that God is trying to get us, if it takes, in a spiritual way, us dying. So when he resurrects us. So when we're one way and we think that's the way we got to be, that's how I was born, or that's how what I turned out to be, and that's the way I've got to be. No, I want to redirect you. And if I got to kill you, I will. I will do that. And so you find yourself in that situation, but I heard the voice, and he said, what did he say? He didn't just say it. He shouted it. And what did he shout? Lazarus, come out. And they said, and you heard him? He says, if he were in the tomb with me, my eyes opened, my fingers moved. I lifted my head. I was alive again. I heard the stone being rolled away. The light poured in, and it took a moment for my eyes to adjust. Now, let me tell you something. As you're telling this story to somebody tomorrow at work, and they've never read the Bible, they're going to look at you like you have totally lost your mind and think that there's no way. And don't let somebody tell you that's only during God's time. That was only back during those times. That was 2,000 years. Let me tell you something. God is still in the resurrecting business. Trust me. From myself to you to whomever, there's things you're going through in your life, and God's about to resurrect that. I'm not trying to be preachy. I'm just trying to tell you that you've got to understand that God, he's coming. If you prayed and he promised you, I'm going to take care of that. But God, you don't get it. Hey, I didn't mean to get addicted. I didn't mean to have an affair. I didn't mean to go crazy at home. I didn't mean to do this. I didn't mean to quit church. It doesn't matter. He said, look, let me handle that. Let me take care of that situation. He said, what did you see? He said, I saw a circle of faces looking in at me. And he said, then what did you do? He said, I stood up. Jesus gave me his hand. He pulled me out. He told the people to get me some real clothes. And they did. That's what's going to happen to you. Look, you don't have to be unsaved to not need to die. Because all of us get to a place where there's things on us that just don't need to be there anymore. And I believe the only way we're going to survive where we're at now in this world without totally losing your mind is you're going to have to bury yourself in Jesus and let him have complete control. So you died, were in the tomb 4 days, and Jesus called you back to life. And he said, were there any witnesses to this? Lazarus kind of laughed a little bit and said, only 100 or so. Put yourself in that situation. And I know what goes through our minds sometimes. Well, how come ain't so-and-so didn't live like that? You know, the preachers, they came, and pastor was there 2 or 3 days in a row. And they prayed, and they had fasted, and God didn't see fit for some reason. Now, you think about the people, though, that when it come in this situation right here, think about the one whose relationship wasn't real tight with God. The neighbors. What is them fools doing? Now, look, Jesus, they've been calling on this man for all this time. Don't they know he's not coming? And now, look, he's dead now. They done buried, had a funeral. Everybody's done their thing. And what they're waiting in, Jesus shows up. But there'll always be somebody trying to, debunk you. That nothing's real anymore. But let me tell you something. Standing right over there tonight, with how many people's here, I'm not even real sure. And that worship was going on, it was nothing but Christ in this place. I know he's here. He's here now to give us rest. So, he says, that's all. You can step down. But I love what he said. Let's all stand across here tonight. I like what he says. He said, on his arrival, Jesus found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb, like we said in verse number 17, for 4 days. And we ask ourselves sometimes, why did Jesus wait so long to travel that far? And I like what he said earlier, hey, to prove a point. It's not in my time. It's not. That whatever it is you've been praying for, it's not. I know, hey, look, I know there's going to be times it's going to work out, but then there's not. Lazarus heard the voice of Christ, even though he was in the grave. What does this tell us about God's presence with us, even in death? You realize that whether you physically die or not, you're going to hear him one day. Irregardless. Living ever how you want to live, you're going to hear him one day. Every knee shall bow. Every tongue will confess that Jesus is Lord. So how do you suppose the people in the crowd reacted when they saw Lazarus walk out of the tomb? What might skeptics in the crowd have said? And here we are now, 2,000 years later. And so let me ask you this question. What is your reaction to that story? Is it just a story? Is it just, oh, well, You know, one of them parables the Lord told, just trying to get me saved, just trying to get me where I need to be. No. There's a lot of testimonies, even right here, right now, in this place. And you've had to walk it out, and you've had to wait on God. I've had people close to my family waited and they've waited and they've waited, but man, when he does get there, though, like I said earlier, when you waiting on Mama and Papa to get there, and it seems like it's forever. Did they get lost? Did they go to somebody else's house? Or are they in another state? But when you're sitting there, especially when it's dark outside, and you see them lights kind of flicker across through the windows, you're like, oh, they outside. That's got to be them. Sometimes it was, and sometimes it's just a neighbor. You got your hopes up. There's nothing wrong with getting your hopes up. Being reminded that Jesus is still Lord. So whatever it is tonight that you're walking through, and times are just different. I'm not saying that preaching's different, but it's like we were talking today. It's like you just fight different things. Seems like now, and I'm not saying that 40 years ago that it wasn't the same Satan, but I believe that today that same Satan has just totally just opened up the pits of hell to come at us with everything. Things that used to would get you down, that don't bother you, but he has all those different tactics now. So before we leave, I want to just pray for us tonight. And my heart is heavy, especially after Sister Beth was talking about being tired. And I know there's more people in this house right now that you're tired. Everybody gets tired, and that's not a good feeling. But I don't want you to get so to the place where he's not giving you that rest that you need. And if there's any possible way, naturally get you some rest. Father, I love you tonight, and I just thank you once again for just allowing me this small opportunity to be able to share your word tonight with some of the most gracious and wonderful people in the world. Father, I thank you for this church, not just a church, but this is a church where people love you, and we want to focus on you more than we ever have before. It's not by might nor by power, but it's by your Spirit, saith the Lord. If there was ever a time that I want to depend on your Spirit, then it is now. That same Spirit that raised Lazarus from the dead, I want that same Spirit in this house. There are those here that are walking through a storm, going through a different season, tired and weary, don't know what to do, don't know what's around the next curve, don't know what's around at the bottom of the next hill. I don't know, but I do know that you know, God. And I also know that this word tonight, it was for me, but it was for our entire generation to realize that, hey, it does not matter. You're coming. You're coming in our situation. You're going to be there. You even said in your word that if we was to make our bed in hell, you would be there. Father, I thank you tonight for everything that you're about to do in a brand new season for us. I'm not going to be depressed. I pray against that spirit right now. This church is not going to be depressed. We're not going to be fearful. We're not going to be wondering what if. The only thing that I want to be wondering is when are you coming back, God? But in the meantime, I want to be telling as many people about you as I can. I want to be telling as many people that I come in contact with the story of Lazarus, the story of anybody else that has found their way at the bottom of the place they didn't really want to be. And sometimes it's our fault. And sometimes through no fault of our own, stuff just happens. So tonight I pray for peace tonight in this house. Father, I just ask you that you would just begin to answer prayers. Tap somebody on the shoulder, God, and remind them that they are your child. And if you said you was coming, then you coming. It may not be tomorrow, but you're going to be there. When you get there, everything is going to be all right. There's going to be some things maybe there's some things in our life that is not quite dead enough. Because when you resurrect us, we're going to be a brand new person. We're going to be a brand new Christian. We're going to be a brand new saint. We're going to be a new husband, a new father. All those things, God, I thank you for that, Jesus. I just pray for that tonight, that you begin to do all those things through us in the lovely name of Jesus Christ. Amen. God bless you guys. Don't nothing happen. We will see you Sunday morning. Hey, go and tell somebody about the Lord. Find somebody tell them this story. Find the craziest person you can and tell them this story. God bless each and every one of you.